I just gotta say, I think Austin Butler might be one of my favorite actors currently working in Hollywood right now. The last four performances from him have honestly, for me, been pretty mesmerizing and completely different from the last, and Caught Stealing proves he is an absolute showstopper. What's going on, buddy? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today we're discussing Caught Stealing. This is about burnt out ex-baseball player Hank Thomas, played by Austin Butler, who unexpectedly finds himself embroiled in a dangerous struggle for survival amidst the criminal underbelly of 1990s New York City, forced to navigate a treacherous underworld he never imagined that he would be a part of. This is, of course, directed by Darren Aronofsky, who's been very famous for making films like Black Swan, The Whale, and, of course, Mother. Now, I was not, leading up to this excited. It's a Darren Aronofsky film, so I'm always going to be interested in the project no matter what the film is, but I more just go into these expecting Darren Aronofsky to go kind of crazy and wild. And I will say Caught Stealing might be his most easily accessible movie to jump into, but that doesn't mean that this isn't an Aronofsky film at the very start of it. From the way that it's shot to the atmospheric tone that he develops into here, it fully feels like his vision in almost every sort of way, but it is also refreshing to see him go into such a simple crime thriller, but also in a way make it into his own style. And in a way, the best way I can kind of state this film is that it feels like a crime odyssey, and one that is structured around a character that the way that the film feels is the way that his character is going through. And the reason that I state that is because Austin Butler's character in here, who, again, Austin Butler's phenomenal in this. We'll talk about him a little bit more in a second, but his character, for the most part, is very self-destructive, but clearly passionate about the people around him and about his past. But at the same point in time of this all, he's a very aimless human being who's kind of just aimlessly been walking the earth for the last 7 to 11 years of his life. Very much just going about his days, not really having a purpose in the world. And in Caught Stealing, he starts to find his purpose in here in a way, even if it's not the treacherous way that he wants to. But the film at times does feel all those sort of ways that I just talked about. It's self-destructive, but it's clearly passionate in all of its different avenues and its different world building and all of its different aspects it wants to bring about the underbelly and the underworld of the 1990s crime saga. But in the end of the day, it also is aimless in its direction, but in a good way, and in a way that I thoroughly love to see, because the way that Darren Aronofsky directs this movie is in a way that I was not truly expecting. From the way that the film just looks to the way that it's shot, it has these beautiful long takes and these beautiful wide lenses where it's just showing you this incredible close-up, but also the way that it zooms in, pans out through all the action, chase, everything to that nature, that again, it feels like you're taking a hit of adrenaline and shooting you through these sequences into such a vivid but perfect way. And that's one of the reasons that I would highly recommend seeing this movie in theaters, is because of those atmospheric takes. What he's done so great in his career is crafting worlds, crafting landscapes and areas that feel so lived in with every seamless detail. You've seen this in The Whale, whether you love the movie or hated the movie, but in just one room, basically, one building. That's all the film takes place in. It's able to be fleshed out and lived in through one guy's life. Same thing with Mother, which basically all takes place inside a house. This house is completely set, crafted, created, aimlessly thought about, and Black Swan, and so on and so forth. Every single one of his films has always been about that way, and Caught Stealing is no different, even though he's using the entire landscape of New York City in the 90s, which is one thing that he completely brings to life, is the feeling of the 90s, but not just in the tone of the movie and, of course, the time period that it's taking place in, but specifically the vibe of the film. This feels like a movie that would have came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, something like Boondock Saints, which I'm not saying that it's exactly like Boondock Saints, but it's Boondock Saints-like in terms of its style and in terms of the storytelling that it's telling here. And I don't know why, but it's awesome to feel that way, because I don't feel like we've gotten a lot of films that is like that, and I love the Boondock Saints. In a way, this is more adrenaline-filled and more on the edge as you're trying to just figure out what is the next step that this character should take to get to the best path for his avenue. In a way, it is a fight for survival in the underworld. Adding in top of that, when you look at this entire cinematography and the entire vision for this film, when you jump into crime sagas, usually, or even crime thrillers, you're either on the cop side, the criminal side, but there's never in that in-between world where it's the person who kind of got mixed up in it. And if we are diving into a story like that, It's someone who's been dragged into it because they have to be, not because of the actions that they've taken to get to that point. And in that feeling, you always see them kind of lose their way along the way. And that one of the most refreshing things about this film is it never felt like the character had lost his way. He started to actually find the point of life, to find who himself was, and to actually stop running away from his problems and to actually face them head on. And I think that is one of the biggest telling factors of this film, is the fact that it feels so refreshing to see this point of view from so many different characters that are in here. And in a way, it is one guy who does not want to be involved in this at all, but because of one early mistake that he made in his teenage years, I've truly pushed him towards this entire stratosphere. And it goes to show how one choice in your life can affect something down the road. And I think that is something that kind of can open up an eye to people. But it's also, just because one thing messes your life up so early on doesn't mean that you can't head on and tackle it. And it tells a really thematical story on tackling your problems head on first. Again, all enwrapped into a crime odyssey that is just thrilling. And one that I truly felt invested in the entire way through. And I think Darren's talked a little bit about making this into a trilogy. I would absolutely be down for it, because again, the vibe, the city, everything feels so lived in that, again, there are so many different avenues that I think he could explore that I would be completely down for. Talking about Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio's characters, I think they are two awesome characters that didn't get enough screen time in here, but that's okay because they're so good for the role that they're in. Regina King, same thing here. She's awesome. Kravitz is absolutely charming, and I think her and Austin Butler have phenomenal chemistry that you instantly care about their relationship so early on. Smith is fucking batshit crazy, but I was a fan of. I'll even give a shout out to Bad Bunny. I thought he did a decent job here. Is that cast and the direction that really makes this movie what it is. Is this movie perfect? No, but it is one of those movies that just, again, we don't get enough of nowadays. And it's just a nice little time at the movies that truly sucks you into the world that you're completely there. And again, I really can't emphasize enough how cool this movie is in the terms of its look and style. Like, there are things in here that I kept watching and I just like, even though it's like the most simple, like, street canvas that Darren Aronofsky's playing off of, I'm able to just sit there and still feel in awe of what he's able to showcase and how he's able to develop that in there. And I really have to give a shout out to the cinematography here, because I think it is one of the big highlights of the film. And speaking about that cinematography and everything in there, is they really do make New York City its own single character, specifically in the locales, the locations, everything they kind of go about. You can truly feel how lived in this entire city was. And last but not least, with Austin Butler's character, I was very surprised to see that we actually got development with him. He wasn't just a surface level character that kind of just gave you hints to his past. No, you actually genuinely see those flashbacks, and the way that they weaved him in throughout the story, I actually thought was quite great. Jumping into my issues and some of my mixed aspects, one of the mixed things I do have is I feel like the film has a bit of a pacing issue. While I was very engrossed with everything going on and there were certain things that I wish we would have gotten more information on, certain characters, I did find the pacing of the film to be a little bit off. There was a point where I checked my phone to just see what time it was, and I was shocked to see that we were only in the movie for 40 minutes. It definitely felt we had been in at least for an hour and 10, and I do think the pacing could have been worked on a little bit much. Before we get into my final thoughts, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you guys do enjoy talking about movies, TV, and even sometimes video games. We did just start over a video game channel over on Hot My Gaming. Definitely go check that out if you're into those. If not, stay on this channel, talk about movies and TV over here on a weekly basis. I like to post at least 3 to 5 videos a week, specifically movie reviews. We'll be talking about my most anticipated movies for the rest of this year this Friday. You will definitely not want to miss that out. First, Caught Stealing is a grungy underground crime odyssey that sweeps you into the edgy New York streets and spits you right into the thick of the shit. Literally. Butler is fantastic as someone who's self-destructive but clearly a passionate, aimless human being that's just looking for that next bright piece in his life. It's shocking but entertaining, and it's one that I loved how the story was weaved around the story of the character protagonist and what he had to go through. So all that said, I'm going to give Caught Stealing a 3.5 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching this. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, and of course, until next time, stay classy.